Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Referrals Podcast. Once again, I have got to give you a shout out, listeners, viewers. You've made us a top 100 podcast, and I'm telling you, so much thanks, so much appreciation. I'm so glad the world is getting so much value from this podcast and from our great guest today. And I'm telling you, today, you're going to start to feel comfortable being uncomfortable. You are going to learn why the word encourage has the word courage rooted in it, and you are going to find out how you can risk and grow rich. Yes, you've heard of Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill. Maybe we can't just think and grow rich. Maybe we have to take action. No, we definitely have to take action. So we're going to risk and grow rich today. And I want you to know the definition of rich can include wealth. It can include money. But what we're talking about here today is prosperity. Prosperity is love, happiness, relationships, freedom, choice, money, all of the above. So we're going to talk about risking and growing rich today with David Wood. Before I bring him on, I first have to give a huge shout out to Quad Aces. If that's your real name, that's like the coolest real name I've ever heard in my life. I think that's your Apple user ID name. Said, love this podcast and appreciate the Tribe of Trust. I have learned so much from participating in the Generosity Generation, the Gen group. By the way, you can join that by going to joingengen.com, joingen.com, and the March Magic 30-Day Challenge. I love the podcast. It is a must listen for any salesperson. Quad Aces, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the rating and the review that you did. And that leads us to, hey, listen, truthfully, the way that our podcast grows, it grows by you rating and reviewing us, letting others know about it. It would mean so much to me. It would mean so much to our podcast team if you would take 2 minutes to subscribe, rate, review, and share referralspodcast.com with those you know. We really, really appreciate that. If you are on your phone, all you have to do is go into our show and scroll all the way down in the episodes, and you will see a button that says leave review. The thing about that is, we're 190 episodes. So you have to scroll through quite a bit to leave that review, but please know that's very much appreciated. And maybe next time I will read your shout out on, and by the way, put your real name in there. Let us know who you are and what you do and what your profession is and what your location is so that we can give you a shout out and hopefully you can get referrals. That's the key of Referrals Podcast. So now we have been trying to get this guy on for quite some time. I am so excited to bring our guest on today, David Wood. David believes that the tough conversations we avoid are our doorways to confidence, success, and love. They become the defining moments which shape our world. He works with high-performing entrepreneurs, executives, and teams, and even prison inmates to create amazing results and deep connection. Achieve more by focusing on less. Alongside his clients' successes, David is no stranger to overcoming challenges himself. Having overcome a full collapse of his paraglider and a fractured spine, witnessing the death of his sister at age 7, severe anxiety and depression, and a national gong show. He is the author of Get Paid for Who You Are, with foreword by none other than our friend Jack Canfield. He was nominated to the exclusive Transformational Leadership Council, TLC, alongside such thought leaders as Don Miguel Ruiz, John Gray and Marianne Williamson from Our Deepest Fear. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome to Referrals Podcast, Mr. David Wood. Welcome.
Woo! Thanks for that build up, man. That was fun. And Michael, I want to say I'm a fan. I don't know if you know this, but I've read the 7 Levels of Communication, and listeners, if you have not read that book, I highly recommend you go and get it. And I thought, while the content was good, I thought the delivery mechanism was genius. So it's a treat for me to be on the show with you.
Well, thank you. That's our show today, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that is so good, David. I appreciate that. And by the way, when you went woo like that, we couldn't hear your awesome accent. I mean, we got to realize that maybe some accents go away when we all go woo, right? We all sound alike. So I love that. So I have to tell you, all right. A lot of things going on, a lot of things we could unpack from your story and how you came to be and how you came to where you are now. And what a story and what an impactful things that you've done in life. And I want to go right to risk though, right? Because here's the thing, we could spend so much on all these things, but it's like, oh my God, when I dove into this, it's like, all right, we have got to talk about this overcoming this playing safe and going into courage and going into that next level. So, I'm going to ask you right off the bat, like, all right, why is playing safe possibly the most dangerous thing that we could ever do?
Because of regret. That's why. See, we have good reasons to play safe. And I'm a fan of sometimes playing safe. Maybe we don't want to risk rocking the boat in our relationship. Maybe we don't want to get divorced. Maybe we don't want to risk losing our job or this client who annoys the hell out of us. So there are good reasons for playing safe, but on our deathbed, is that what we want to say? Do you want to say, I played it really safe. I never risked anything. So I never found out what would happen if I asked that woman out. Or what if I confessed to my partner that I'd broken an agreement? Maybe we could have become closer together, or I could have, changed my behavior in some way. What if I'd gone for it in my business and really found out if the world wanted this or not? There's a book called 5 Regrets of the Dying. And one of the things that people regretted most on their deathbed was that they lived someone else's life, or that they didn't ask for what they wanted enough, or they didn't say no when something wasn't working for them. So that's the reason. Regret on our deathbed. And I don't want anyone to have that experience. I want every listener, including you and myself, that when that time comes and we're done with this world, we can say, I gave it everything. I left everything out there on the field. And yeah, sure, I stubbed my knee and my toe along the way. And sure, I lost some things, but I didn't leave myself wondering, what if I truly expressed myself and gone for everything I wanted?
So it's risk or regret.
I think so. Now, there are times when we'll do something and then we'll regret that we did it. So we took the risk and can I take that back, please, God?
That's right.
But I think it was Mark Twain that said 20 years from now, we'll regret by far the things that we didn't do more than the things that we did do. And I found that true in my life. Now, to get there though, like if we want those rewards that lie just on the other side of the comfort zone, there's no alternative that I'm aware of but to practice deliberate discomfort. We have to go and suck it up and go and have that conversation with our employee who's late to every meeting. And we have to be uncomfortable for the rewards that lie on the other side. Maybe we have to go and take a cold shower when the body's screaming at us, this is freezing, I shouldn't be doing it, to get the health benefits on the other side. The way to do it, okay, I'm willing to be uncomfortable and I'm willing to face the consequences of this not going well.
So, all right. So you brought up the whole term of comfort zones, right? And that's we have to go there, right? And so what would it look like to step even further out of your comfort zone? What does that look like to you? Or what does that look like to someone to step out even further from their comfort zone?
Great question. Well, the easy answer is like, we take an extreme example. I'm scared of heights. So I decided to lean into that and study to be a paragliding pilot. So I've jumped off mountains and gone up, right?
Wow.
I've stepped off with a paraglider attached to me and gone up to 10,000 feet. Now that's an obvious example of discomfort. My heart's pounding before I go off. And then
My heart's pounding just listening to you tell the story.
oh, I hear. And then, when I'm up under a storm cloud and I'm trying to make a decision that I hope won't kill me, that's an extreme example. But there are so many micro examples in our life that I think are even more relevant. Like, what's an example? I'm single right now and I'd like to find a partner. So if I reach out to someone I'm attracted to and say, hey, would you like to spend time together? There's a little bit of an edge to that. Because
huge risk, right? Yeah. It really is. Like, isn't it interesting how easy the words are, right? If you just took the words and put them over here, it's like, it's so easy. But when there's that rejection, right, possibility, that puts a lot of stress on it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it can get awkward. Now, an easy path for me is like, hey, do you want to take a walk? And that's really easy for someone to say yes to. And there's not a lot of rejection associated. But what if it's, hey, do you want to have a movie night, movie and cuddles? How does that sound? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it gets a bit awkward. I'm here in Boulder where people practice speaking the truth a lot more than normally. So I might hear, well, what's your intention with that? And what are our boundaries? And so now
what's a cuddle? What's the definition of a cuddle, David?
Yeah,
so, right.
Seriously, I had a woman say last week, I'm interested and I don't know how many cuddles I'd be up for. And that was fun for me because I'm like, where does a cuddle stop and a cuddle start?
We really need to define what a cuddle is. So I like that. That.
Yeah, sometimes you do. So those are some little examples, but then you get bigger examples. Like here's another extreme one. When I was 18, I did something that I have regretted my entire life. I cheated on my first serious girlfriend. I got drunk at a party, had sex with someone else, and felt so terrible the next day. Now that's something that some people will be tempted to keep under wraps and just say, oh, look, I just won't do it again, blah, blah, blah. No, that doesn't work for me. This is someone I really like, I care about a lot, and I want to be in an intimate partnership. I just don't know how to do anything else. So I confess. Now, talk about awkward, talk about horrendous, talk about uncomfortable. Now, what am I risking? I'm risking all those feelings. I'm risking her feeling horrible, and I'm risking the relationship. And in that case, she did exactly what she should have done. She broke up with me and I had to earn back her trust. And we ended up maybe 3 years after that event and me crawling on my knees for some time to really let her know how sorry I was. We ended up getting married.
Oh, wow. That's not how I thought the story was going to end.
Yeah,
I really thought it was going to be the next girl. I learned my lesson, so I did not cheat on her. So it ended up, getting married. So wow, what a rebound. That's an amazing.
And often the mind will show us the worst that can happen, and that's why a lot of people play safe, because the mind will be like, oh no, it's going to be all bad stuff. We have to generate the upside. We have to show ourselves what's possible, and so the possibility I created was true intimacy. Even if she breaks up with me, we'll be related about what's real. And she eventually forgave me and we got married. Now, we weren't married for a long time. We broke up later on for good reasons, but that was 20 years ago. I'm flying to New York next week and I'm going to stay with her and her new husband and her 6-year-old boy who calls me Uncle David. And I'm just such a fan for transparency, especially if you could lose something. Who cares if you're transparent when there's nothing on the line? Yeah. But if you're transparent, you're willing to risk something just to make something right with someone, I think you're opening yourself to greater connection, intimacy, love, and confidence.
That transparent conversation is just, that is such a, I don't even know, like that is so hard to do. Here's the thing that is so amazing about the story you just told is you hurt the relationship. But in the end, you actually saved the relationship. Here's the thing. What if you had not cheated on her? Then you got, or didn't, mention it to her. And then 3 years later, she found, you're married, and then she found out. Like the damage might've been irreparable at that point.
Yeah.
In this case, it was repairable because you literally let it be known early that here's the situation that happened. If we can save this, we can save this. If you can't mentally get over it, then we can't save it,
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because this is a great example of where it looks like you're being risky, but it's actually can be even riskier to not be upfront. So you're right. One of the risks could be that it comes out later, and now the breach of trust is 10 times greater.
Yeah.
Because I didn't come clean. The second thing that's a risk is it's not a real relationship. If I've lied about something like that, or I withhold a breach of trust like that, she's not relating to the true David. She's relating to some front that I'm putting up, and she's not relating to me. And so therefore I know in the back of my mind, if she knew the real secret, she wouldn't be with me. So she doesn't really love me because she's not seeing the real me. So that's a really good example of how it looks riskier to share the truth, but the risks, the hidden risks, can be even greater.
And I will tell you, I have to pull that to business for just 1 second, is that during buyer consultations, I worked in the real estate world, and when a buyer or a seller comes in, we don't just tell them, here's the process when you work with us. What we actually do is, David, we actually give them the nuclear case scenario. So we literally tell them that, you may find 100 things wrong. You may end up making 20 offers without getting the home. You may have to pay $50,000 over asking. You may not close on time. And we tell them the nuclear case scenario. Well, at first you might think that it feels risky, because it's like, oh my gosh, it'll be horrible if we do this. But what we've discovered is that by giving that nuclear case and that worst case scenario, we have reset their expectations. And when they go through the transaction and they find a home and they only have 40 things that were on the inspection report, and they only paid $5,000 over asking, and they closed on time, then they're not just happy, they're super happy, because we told them the ugly truth. We told them the truth in the beginning. Whereas a lot of people they want to tell them it's going to be the best transaction in the world if you work with me. You know what? I'm going to save you money. I'm going to save you time. I'm going to, these that we overpromise. And what happens is under delivery for most salespeople, especially in the real estate world. And so we went the complete opposite, is that we're going to underpromise. We're going to tell them that all these things are going to happen. And then when they don't happen, they're happy. And all we did was our job. So yeah, I love that honest conversation. I love
the other thing that you've done there. It sounds like you get a happy result at the end because you over deliver. But the other thing you do is you generate trust. You say, hey, I want to be upfront with you and tell you how bad it could go. Like, let's talk about the worst case scenario first. Yeah. I'm going to trust you if you do that, particularly since no one else is doing it. An example from my life this week is my landlord has just sent me the itemized deductions they want to take from my deposit, because I just moved out and there's some damages. Well, whoa, the damages are like double my deposit. And so we might end up going to small claims court for it. But as I was writing my dispute, and here's what I think the charges should really be, I realized there's one thing they didn't charge me for. They may not have seen it yet. It might be covered up. And I'm so tempted. I can't tell you how strong the temptation is to let it go, because I thought, why do I want to give them more ammunition when this might go to court? This is a negotiation. Why do I want to make their case for them?
Right.
And I decided in the end to put it in. And here's the main reason. It's the right thing to do. it's just the right thing to do. Hey,
Yeah.
check out the top of this. I think there's some damage. I think my dog did it, my puppy.
Yeah.
And if you think my dog did it, let me know how much you think we should charge. All these other things I dispute. Now, what's the benefit? Firstly, I feel better about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So my confidence goes up because I don't have to look over my shoulder all the time that something's going to bite me on the ass.
Yep.
But the second thing is maybe they'll read that and go, oh, well, this guy's actually being real with us. He's not just trying to take us to the cleaners. Maybe we'll be reasonable with him. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's a bonus. If
Has it played out yet?
I haven't had a response from them
Yeah.
yet, so I don't know what's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying you should do this all the time. And I want to make this caveat because the question that comes up is, should I do this all the time? Should I take risks? No.
Yeah.
I used to be a consulting actuary. My whole life was about assessing risk.
Yeah.
I've found 9 times out of 10, it's been worth it to tell the truth. Even if I lose the relationship or if I lose the client or whatever, I find it's worth it. But 1 in 10 times, hey, I'm not perfect. When I was in Bali and they showed up at my doorstep and said, we think you've been subletting your villa to other people, and that's not okay, and we need you to appear for an interview. I'd love to tell the truth and say, yeah, you're right, I did it, let me pay the fine. But then I found out that there could be jail time for subletting my villa in Bali while I'm trying to negotiate a bribe from within jail to get out. So I decided that's not a conversation I want to have. And a lawyer said, you should really just leave the country and then come back in a few months, it'll all blow over. So I'm not saying you should always take that risk. What I would say is write down what could happen, what could go wrong. Okay, if I tell the truth, this could go wrong. This could go wrong. This is the worst case scenario. Then ask yourself, what could go right? If I come clean, or if I take this risk in my business, if I go and ask this celebrity to endorse my product, if I go and pitch TED to be a speaker, if I blah, 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 what could go right? And that can be very exciting. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't see like all these things could come out of it. And then you make a choice. Am I willing to accept the possible consequences? If you are, go and take that risk all day, every day. And if you're not, okay, make that conscious choice.
I'll tell you, it's so critical what you're talking about. I mean, I'm in the process of writing a book called The Tribe of Trust, right? So 7L system, the 7L book that I wrote was really on maximizing one-on-one, one-to-one relationships. How do we build that one relationship really, really strong to the point of a referral exchanging relationship, mostly business book, right? Well, what I didn't get into was the one-to-many approach of the 7L system, which kind of centered around events and what we do around events and that kind of thing, and how to build this community of influence, this what I call the tribe of trust. Well, what you're talking about, if you're the influencer that is in the center of this community of influence, you have to be 100% comfortable with these conversations. And, the nice thing, David, is when we tell the truth all the time, we're not looking over our shoulder, or we're not hesitating to say something because it's like, does this align with the 1,000 stories I've already told? We just tell it like it is and move on. And the clear conscience allows for greater, mastermind, greater good, greater, it's just a great feeling to know that you're not trying to put on 1,000 different airs and put on 1,000 different stories and try to be 1,000 different people. Just be the one, be yourself. And I'll tell you, I love this, the transparency, the vulnerability, we're going to start with a basis of trust, because you know what, without it, there is no tribe.
Yes.
And
I feel so strongly about this that we've just started writing another book, and we've done a little mini trailer of it, and it's called Name That Mouse.
Ooh.
Because
say it again. Say it.
Name That Mouse.
Okay.
because the elephant isn't the only animal in the room.
Mm.
So we all know about the elephant. You see it, I see it, no one's saying anything about it.
Yeah.
But many creatures in the room are much more subtle. Maybe if I showed up 5 minutes late for this podcast and didn't say anything, I might be thinking, is he annoyed? Is this, I'm feeling embarrassed about this, and I'm committed to being on time. These are like 3 different mice.
Mm.
And so the book is about finding an artful way to name your own experience with people, tell on yourself sometimes, some of it. One of the mice in the book is a confession mouse. Then there's a desire mouse. This is something I want, and I want to name it with you. There might be a self-expression mouse. I just want you to know this about me. There might be a reality check mouse. I have a story about something, Michael. I have a story that you were annoyed with me for something I did 2 weeks ago, and I just want to get a reality check on that. Can I name a reality check mouse with you? So, yeah, I'm a big fan of like more transparency. I think it leads to more trust. It leads to being a better leader that people want to follow and want to be around. So it's great for business. It's great for the corporate environment. You will lose some stuff. I promise you. You will. So here's me modeling what you did with your clients. You will lose some stuff. This is going to happen. But I believe the stuff you're going to lose is the stuff you're supposed to lose.
That's right.
And it lets everyone who should be around you know where to be.
Yep. So that leads us, I'm wondering if there is a real daring mouse, right? So, that's a thing. If we practice this thing that you call real daring more often, what would be available in our life and work if we practice that?
Yeah.
Like, I love that. Real daring, not just daring and not just real. It's real daring. So explain that term.
Yeah. The word real keeps coming up for me in my life because I think that I wasn't taught to be real. I know kids, we tend to learn to hide things that are going to get us in trouble and hide things that are going to get our parents upset. And there's a huge power dynamic between a parent and a child. So being real was something I had to learn from other environments, like teachers. I'd go to a personal development course and I'd watch someone get up on stage and say, and this was the leader, he got up and said, "I'm terrified of people." And I was sitting there going, you can say that? I would never tell people I was terrified because I think that's something I should hide. And I had to relearn that. So the more I saw people being real, the more inspired I was, the more I wanted to be around them. And I wanted to learn how to be that myself. So I wrote an app called Get Real, which provides questions that you can use. And, your listeners might love it with their clients and their prospects. Like, hey, I got this game, here's the question of the day. You ask it and it goes deep really fast. And then daring came up because as a kid, I don't think I was that daring. I didn't stand up to the bullies. And so I just let them push me around. And I didn't ask out the girls that I wanted to spend time with. I was terrified of that. And I regret that so much to this day, that when I spot something that's edgy, I spot something that's a bit scary, I'm more likely to lean into it because I don't want that to have power over me. So daring came up and courage as part of my brand. And I just put the 2 words together: real daring. Be real, and being real requires daring.
Totally.
Every day it requires daring. I was once I wanted to buy a gift for a woman, and I had a girlfriend, and I just wanted to buy a gift for someone. And I was terrified because I knew my girlfriend would be pissed. And the attendant, the shopkeeper, was pretty switched on. And she saw what I was grappling with. And I was like, my truth is to buy this. I'm not trying to have sex with a woman. I just want to give her a gift. But my girlfriend's going to be pissed. And this shopkeeper said, "It takes guts to live your life." Oh, boy,
true.
Boy, did that stay with me. It just takes guts to live your life.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, that kind of leads into this 30% number, right? So you've come up with that basically we should be 30% more daring. And so 30%, like where's that number come from? Right.
Yeah.
It would have been really easy for you to just say the number 20%, because everything's 80-20 principle right now. But it's like, what does 30% more daring look like?
Yeah, I should have said 32.7%.
That's right.
That'd really make it intriguing.
Ultra memorable, right?
I pulled that number out of a hat because I want to encourage people in the direction generally of taking more risk. And I say generally because sometimes people take risk that's just stupid risk.
Yeah.
You drive a car and don't wear a seatbelt, I think you're an idiot.
Yeah.
There is no profit in doing that. You ride a motorbike and you don't wear a helmet. If you may not know it, you have a death wish, or you're an idiot. It's one of those two things. And look, you're talking to the guy who'll jump off a mountain and go up under a cloud, but I wear the damn helmet.
That's right.
I go and get the training. And people who smoke cigarettes, I can understand it. I eat some stuff that's crap for me, and I get away with it. But we take risks that don't pay off. I'm not saying do that. I'm saying lean more in the direction of the risks that are likely to pay off. They could really have such great upside, even if the only upside is personal growth and you learn something. Or you can just say, I was myself in doing that. And that's the reason I did it. And I did, but then I didn't want people to go crazy and go 100%.
Yeah.
I have an exercise that's simple and practical, and I'll offer it to listeners now. You get a piece of paper, right at the top of the page, what would I do if I was fearless? I'm not asking you to be fearless. That's, I think they say fools and priests are fearless. Some author said that.
It's like heroes and all stars and all pros are not fearless. They just fear less, right?
Or the fear doesn't stop them.
That's right.
So some people think I need to be confident before I do it. No, you don't actually have to do that. So I'm not asking you to be fearless, but ask the question, if I was fearless, what would I do? What would I say to my partner? What would I ask for? What would I say no to? What would I set a boundary around? What would I say to my kids if I was fearless? What would I say to someone I'm attracted to? What would I say to the prospects that I want to work with me? What would I say? Fill in the page with what you would do. But I'm not saying that you have to be 100% more courageous, more daring. Don't go and do everything overnight. There might be a whole bunch of stuff you never do. That's okay. I'm saying start to build your awareness of where your edges are and what would be edgy for you. And then maybe circle 2 or 3 things on that page. Maybe circle the easy ones if you want. If you're like me, you might do the hardest one first, because then everything else is downhill. But do 2 or 3. And then if you like the result, if you like how that felt after doing it, you might pick 2 or 3 more things. So the 30% is just a number in between 0 and 100 to get people going in that direction. Because I think we tend to play it too safe in the areas that matter, and we're too dangerous in the areas that have no upside to them.
And I love that. I love that. The whole thought of, ease into it. And here's the other thing, right? Is that something that is a little bit central of what you're saying, or at least what I'm getting from it is the whole thought of conversations. It's there's no such thing. I mean, if your heart is in the right place and your intentions are good, there's almost no such thing as a bad conversation. The only bad conversation is the one that you didn't have. And so it's one of those where, like, for some people, playing safe might mean that they're not telling someone they love that they love them.
Yes.
Just say, I love you, and just see what happens, and just see what happened. Yeah, it might freak them out, might freak you out, but you know what? It's a conversation starter that's real. And,
when I first went to do personal growth work, which freaked me out because they all wore name tags and they smiled way too much.
You're talking about Gen now, buddy. Watch out.
Yeah,
So
that could be it, man.
That does sound like a little bit like our group. So we do smile a little bit too much, and we do wear name badges.
Yeah, it freaked me out. And I realized doing it that I'd never told my mother that I loved her. And I was 27, 28 at the time. And the idea of saying that, I had a whole lifetime of not saying it, and they didn't say it to me. We just didn't say that in our family. So I decided to practice deliberate discomfort, and it was terrifying, Michael. I called her up internationally, called her up, and I said, look, there's something I've never told you, and I just want you to know, I love you. And she said, oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So that was super awkward, but you never know where it's going to go, because 2 weeks later, I was talking to her about something else, and she said, I wish you wouldn't keep uncovering these stones. I said, what do you mean? What stone did I uncover? She said, well, after you told me you loved me, I realized I'd never told my mother.
Oh, wow.
So when I
drove the mic, wow.
When I drove the 5 hours to go and visit her this week, I decided I'm going to tell her. And the first day I thought, it's too early. We're just getting reacquainted. And the second day I thought, the right moment hasn't come up. It'll come. And the third day she thought, she knows. She knows. I don't have to tell her. And so she ended up hugging her mother goodbye, walking back to the car, turned on the engine, and she said to herself, Robin, if you don't do it now, you may never get to do it. She's 83 years old. So she turned off the engine, walked back up the driveway and said, there's something I forgot to tell you. I love you. So we never, ever know where it's going to lead, where it's going to ripple out, if we're willing to be courageous and live our own life.
I'm telling you. I mean, I have chills right now, David. I mean, first of all, that's an awesome story. And I will tell you, the hug might have been the 30% that got your mom to tell your grandma, her mom, she loved. And I have to tell you that we have a similar upbringing in that 7L was dedicated to my father. And in my entire life, 22, 23 years, I had never told my dad that I loved him. And in fact, I did not tell him until 30 seconds before he died. He had cancer and he was in his deathbed. And part of me is like, did he really understand? Did he get it? Or was it just a morphine induced, like hallucination to him? But I have to tell you that he gripped my hand, and like, I just know he knows. I know he knew. And I don't know if it's a generational thing. I mean, I can't tell my son enough that I love him. And my son tells me all the time that he loves me too. And there's, I love you in the family, and it's genuine and it's real. It doesn't matter if you say it 1,000 times or 10,000 times, it doesn't lose its juice. Right. But it's amazing how different we are versus my family, where it just wasn't said. And I can tell you with my brothers and sisters and things like that, is I've gotten to the point now where, like, before we hang up on the phone, I just go, I love you. And I will tell you, the first times that happened was really awkward. Like, I know my brother and sister didn't have a good reply. They're like, well, like, does not compute, So that's one of those where, like, it's like, is that risky? The answer is it is. It's just like, you don't know how the other person's going to react. But is your heart in the right place? Are your intentions good? And are you okay with their response, no matter what it is? And there's power in being okay. I am not tied to any response. I'm only here for the best possible scenario, And so I'm not tied to the outcome of good intentions. I'm going to act in good intentions and see what happens,
Yeah, that's the real, that can really generate freedom and remove a lot of the fear. When I went to the Transformational Leadership Conference a couple of years ago, I was starstruck being around Jack Canfield and all these big names and Oprah Winfrey's executive producer and an Oscar-winning producer. I was like, oh my God. And I realized after the event, I did 4 things that terrified me. I asked for big, bold requests. And I even asked Jack Canfield if he wanted to write a book together. Come on, how many pitches has Jack got to get per day to do that? But it felt right. And I realized when I left, the win was the self-expression. The win was I said what was right. I did what was right. And then I got one yes and 3 no's. The yes was a bonus. So, and what I got from your story, your beautiful story about telling your father that you love him 30 seconds before he died, what I get is, let's use that as motivation to not wait. Let's not wait. I don't know if I'll be alive tomorrow. I really don't. I've nearly died several times. I don't know how long I've got. So the stuff that really matters for each listener, not for me or for Michael, but for you, what matters for you? Maybe it's saying, I love you. Okay. You can practice your edge around that. Maybe it's going for it in your business. Maybe it's like, I'm going to ask 100 people for their business this week. I don't know what it is for you, but whatever that true self-expression is for you, that's what lights me up. You going and doing that and feeling great about yourself. If you get the bonus results, the gravy, I call it, which is more business and more money, that's good too.
I mean, just like I'm not quite speechless, but it's like there are so many drop the mic moments in this. I really hope that people take to heart, the listeners and the viewers of Referrals podcast, take it to heart, to have that conversation, to ask that question, to do that act, to live a life without regret. Literally, all right, what do I need to do? What do I need to say? What risk do I need to take? And today, the title is Risk and Grow Rich, because you know what? That's a title that people will dial into. But today was much more about something bigger than money, which is freedom. Freedom is a part of prosperity, and having this freedom of not having these make-believe stories, and freedom of being able to live your life as just who you are, instead of turning around 10 years from now and wondering who the heck you are. You're going to know from the get-go. And I love the concept of real daring, David. I love that whole thought. And we have an app for people to download, and then you have a free bonus for people to check into. Yes,
I do. Yeah, I created a gift basket of goodies for listeners. A lot of people who come and work with me they want more money. They want to double their revenue and their time off. And so I've created a checklist for that, and a 6-minute video on how to apply it. It'll really help you. I honestly believe we can get twice as much done of what matters in half the time. So if that appeals to you, go and get the download. And if you are interested in working with me around building your business and yourself at the same time, there's a way for you to get on a 15-minute call with me and just see if it's got legs and if we'd be a good fit. And you can do all of that. Plus I have my own podcast I'm launching right now called Extraordinary Focus. You can listen to that if you like. Oh, and the Kickstarter campaign. We're doing a Kickstarter for the Name That Mouse book. If you love this concept of being transparent, and you believe, as I do, that this really can change the world, I'd love you to be part of the Kickstarter. Just donate a few dollars. We'll give you the trailer for the book. And that'll be our signal to the universe if we hit our goal that the world wants this book as much as we do. And you can do all of those things at this hidden page on my website. And the link to that is myfocusgift.com. Takes you straight to the hidden page on my website, myfocusgift.com.
I love it. Check out myfocusgift.com. Go there right now while you're thinking about it. David, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, sharing your wisdom on Referrals podcast. You've been an awesome guest. Thank you.
My pleasure. And thanks for taking this deep. This felt really good to me, and I'm feeling richer than when we started.
That's beautiful. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those podcasts that you're going to play over and over again, and it's going to inspire you to not just risk and grow rich, but risk and grow free. grow free. And there's nothing like freedom in the world. Experience it, love on it, experience prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a minute right now and just jot down, what would you do if you were fearless? What would you say if you were fearless? What conversation do you need to have? Who do you need to speak with? Maybe it's your mom or your mom's mom, or maybe it's your brother, sister. It might be your partner, your girlfriend, wife, sister, brother, husband, whatever it may be. I encourage you to have that tough conversation today. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you for tuning into the Referrals Podcast. We will see you next time on Referrals Podcast. We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.